This podcast shines light on strong and talented women who excel and persevere in life while bathing in abundant self-love. So if you're ready to keep it real, level up in all your inner work, creative business, and community impact, then you've come to the right place because we provide you with content that helps your soul glow and your mind grow. Thank you for pressing play. Let's dive in.
Hey community, welcome to another podcast episode. I'm so excited to record another solo episode. It's been a minute and I'll tell you why soon. This episode is dedicated to Palestinian journalist Anas al-Sharif, who was just killed the other night in an Israeli airstrike. He was my favorite journalist, a humanitarian that I looked up to deeply, and a spiritualist who I looked up to deeply, because not only did he share news, he also shared many prayers, and he was one of the main reasons why I really made it through, the quote-unquote war, which is actually, a genocide, and he just gave me hope, and I every day would go to his page and just feel hope in darkness. And in his last will, which was posted to his Twitter, just last night, he basically gave a call to action. And I'm just going to read this one excerpt, which is, "I never once hesitated to convey the truth as it is, without falsifying or distortion, in the hope that God would bear witness against those who remained silent, those who accepted our killing, and those who besieged our breaths." So with that said, let's get back to the episode. Get cozy, grab a drink. Maybe I have some matcha in here, but grab whatever you want, tea, water, wine. And yeah, this is going to be a long combo. It's going to be a deep combo. I have a lot to update you guys on, and it's a lot of tea. So yeah, I want you to be comfortable. I want you to be grounded in the present moment, before kind of like intaking this quite wild, story that I have to tell. So let's take a few breaths. I like to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4 seconds. So let's try that. Let's breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out. And I just want you guys to release any, stress you're feeling, any anxiety you're feeling, and yeah, just, breathe, ground, and let's get into this story. So this episode is called Art Show PTSD. Basically, Art Show Post-Traumatic Stress Syndrome, from cancellation to clarity. And why it's called this is, you'll see. But I think I'm going to start at the beginning of the story. And I'm referencing episodes 37, which was Self-Love Meets Social Media Cancellation, and episode 50, which references artist abuse. So you might want to watch or listen to those episodes if you haven't yet, because it'll give you some background context on the story that I'm about to tell. So where do I begin? I think I last, kind of left off where things were a bit in flux with STUK, with our evolution, due to a lot of blocks that have been caused by other people, organizations, systems, mainly Meta, on and on. So I wanted to kind of find a solution to that in my life in some ways, and escape that somehow. But I ran into so many blocks along the way. So the story kind of begins where I kind of left off was I ended up reconnecting with an artist friend of mine, a great friend of mine, for over a decade, and it was around when I had released the episode about creative blocks. And I kind of noticed that he was going through a creative block. And so not just for him, but like it inspired me to, record an episode to kind of like just help artists in general, because, we all go through that sometimes. And anyway, it was around 2023 when we reconnected, which is great. Like I don't have complaint. Like we're, at the time we were, great friends, and he had always helped like and supported my career, vice versa. And he's always been a really important part of like my evolution as an artist. But anyway, where it got complicated was when he made this gorgeous like a painting for me, this gorgeous painting of a flower, and it represented like me, because I call myself Brett the Bright, shining light on a flower that was kind of like dimmed and dulled, and it was a representation of me giving light to his creative block during a really hard time he was going through. So anyway, it was like a beautiful, beautiful piece, and I'm honestly like not a crier, which is like, or maybe like publicly, people just don't think that like, and so people don't see me as like emotional a lot of the time, but I for sure cry in private, and that was the only piece of art that's ever made me cry, because it was just gorgeous. So anyway, after that though, I noticed that I had gained a stalker, and it was like she was commenting on the piece like, oh, I wish somebody would do that for me, because it was also like a deep, very deep piece, because it was a artistic representation of like a little poetry line that I wrote, and the little poetry line that I wrote was like, he's the flower, she is his sun. And so, like it really touched me. Anyway, like somebody got wind of it, started commenting like directly on it, like, oh, I wish I had something like that. I wish somebody would make me poetry, blah, blah, blah. So then I hit him up like, I feel like there's somebody stalking me, and I felt the energy for a while. Little did I know there was more than one. But so I hit him up like, what's this about? Blah, blah, blah. And, he kind of just like ignored it. I didn't know at the time, like he was going through like some really, really heavy stuff. And so he just like couldn't deal with it at the time. So anyway, he kind of, just bypassed it, was like, whatever. So this girl kept stalking me. She was a stalker that I was aware of. There was another that I wasn't aware of for like a year after. But I could feel the energy. I knew that I had multiple stalkers at that time. And in episode 50 of Artist Abuse, we talk a lot about how, it's a solo episode, I talk a lot about how just like being an artist, it just attracts attention, and being different, being unique, shining your light, sharing your gift, it's going to attract some darkness a lot of the time. So, that happened, and I was like, all right, well, he's not going to address this and whatever. So, we got in an argument, and I detached myself from the situation. And I thought that like that would kind of, cease the stalking, but no, it just continued.
But more on the host stalkers later.
So, life goes on, and I continue to create work. I continue to move forward. But it was like moving forward with these like weirdo stalkers commenting on my every move, watching my every move. And it's like not just regular stalkers, these are hosts. So like and I don't mean just hose in the way of action. I also mean hose in the way of just like very small-minded like mentality. And so they would like take everything that I said literally. They don't understand like the consciousness I was sharing. And then it was a lot of energy mimicking. Like one girl would like retweet the same things that I was retweeting from the STUK account. And it was just like pretty maddening because they were just doing it to like, get into my energy field and mess with me and mess with my flow of work. And I think what made me most angry about it was that it was messing with my output and my productivity. And that was their intention. So I was like, well, I need to get out of this stupid cycle because like he's in this cycle. I'm not in this cycle. And mind you, like we had never we were just friends. Like we had reconnected, for a while, but like we had never hooked up or anything like that, and it's just a very like deep friendship, and we have like deep, friendship, love for each other and respect. And so we supported each other because, through like over a decade of artistry, we've gone through similar things, very similar things. And so I felt like the obsessive stalking was like kind of creating stagnation in my life. So I was like, oh, I want to get out of this. Like, I hate loops. I hate cycles. Like, I've far evolved beyond toxicity within relationships at this point. Like, I really want, like healthy love. I want a healthy lifestyle. I believe in healthy, living. I try to eat as healthy as I can. So I was like, let me reconnect with my gallery space and see maybe if I can throw an event. And he had always, like, my artist friend had thrown, like, kind of like drawing events in the past, for a while, and I had gone, and I was always inspired by it. And I myself had always like I had been building like this drawing course online, but this was still not very long after quarantine, so I hadn't really got a chance to like take it out IRL. And I thought about doing something after I've seen one of my NFT friends on Twitter go to a drink and draw event. I was like, wow, that's a really cool idea. So then I ended up writing a proposal to like for the drink and draw, and I kind of ended up like writing a mission for it because I was feeling very isolated and very stagnant. So I was like, yeah, I want something more community based, and I want to pull out other artists out of their like solitude, because artistry is a very solitary career, and there's beauty in that, but also like we need community to thrive and grow and evolve as well. So I wrote up like a mission statement and a proposal and pitched it to my gallery space. They were down for it, and it ended up being this gorgeous like rooftop space. And so I started pitching it about a year ago, and it like about a little before last summer, and it's summer now. And I just progressively started building it up. Like, and it was beautiful because each time I would meet new artist friends. And it was like pulling me out of isolation, out of stagnation, and out of solitude. And solitude, I think, is truly important to the self-love journey, but, it's like everything requires balance and moderation in all things. So, I started building out this event, and I already knew, like, my family would kind of feel some type of way, because if you have listened to episode 37, like, about the social media cancellation that I experienced in 2013, I talk about how it was my family a lot who was forcing this, like, isolation upon me through, like, lies they were spreading in the community, etc. So I don't think they really liked that I was building myself back up within the community. I've talked before about how I have socialite parents, and they care very much so about image, how they're perceived, and almost like beyond anything that I'm doing. Like they kind of like belittle, I shouldn't even say kind of, they belittle like my company, they belittle what I'm doing, they belittle my cause, and because they don't want like, the truth of like, just emotional abuse things that they've done and etc. Which is just like silly at this point because in society, it's just like nobody is like not talking about abuse. Nobody is not talking about like, you know, things that used to be taboo. And I've been actually like under threat, which is why why it's taken me so long to kind of like record another solo episode. And every time I record a solo episode, I get heavily energetically attacked by people that just don't want me sharing truth. So I felt like it was just time though, because, I need to move forward. My company needs to move forward. And I just don't want this experience to happen to any other women. So, so they were part of it too, but whatever, I was like kind of ignoring it, and I pushed forward with the drink and draw. I started expanding it monthly, and it was going great. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I should kind of like work with my gallery on a more consistent basis, because I really only just like had my art there like as a residency. I wasn't really like there on a consistent basis other than the drink and draw. So I was like, okay, let me kind of like get into community management there. I loved the job. Like I loved being close to the gallery, and I loved everything about it. But once I was there, I can always feel when energy's on me, just like how I knew that, I was being stalked, even when I didn't specifically know who the people were. And so I was like, there's this weird energy in this space, and it felt like very stalkerish. And so automatically, because I already know that like my mom, she loves to share rumors about me, about STUK, about like what I'm doing. And I've already shared in the past, like this is no new news. I've shared in the past that she had spread rumors about me being quote unquote crazy to my donors, and donors pulled out, and I had to like start over from scratch. And that all happened in 2023 when she sabotaged my career the first time.
And I just want to make a note that like since like the beginning of time, calling women who aren't crazy has been like a tactic used by abusers. Like it is an age-old method, and people have used this method on me nonstop to just silence me. And I think that it's time to stop, because like there are actual people out here who really do have mental health issues, and calling healed, I should say, people crazy, people who are trying to make an impact in the mental health world crazy, it's a silencing tactic, and it's a silencing tactic that is age old. I just wanted to make that note.
So I was like, this feels like she might have said something or whatever, but I'm just gonna, keep pushing because it's not true, and I can just prove that, obviously, even though I shouldn't have to prove myself, because I know who I am, and I know my worth, and I know my value, and I know it's internal, and et cetera, and et cetera. But, so I just kept doing the best I could. And eventually because I had been co-hosting my drink and draw with a mentor figure, male of mine, and then he ended up offering me a show in this space like almost next door to where I threw the drink and draw. So I was like, okay, cool, yeah, I'd love to. I was like not really ready for a solo show, also because like in 2023 when I was trying to do a solo show about Black girl magic, I was severely attacked by community. And so I was like, I have a concept of a women's show, but I'm not really ready. And my work wasn't really ready for a solo show yet. So I was like, I have this beautiful concept though for a women's show, and I'd love to do that. And he was like, well, cool, let's do it. And I felt, I can read energy, so I felt that he was like skeptical, and I felt like I already felt like he was talking shit about me behind my back and to people and etc. But he was like in his 60s and old, and like, and it doesn't matter. We didn't hang out with the same people, so I didn't really care. So, I was like, all right, well, he doubts me, but like I've been building out and curating art shows since I was about 21, like fresh out of college is like when I started doing that. I curated my very first art show in downtown LA. That was really successful, and I just knew I could do it, obviously. So we put together a phenomenal show of 9 powerhouse women artists. Like, I'm talking, like, when people went in that space, they were just like, wow, because that's how powerful each woman that I included in the show is and was. But it's crazy because, like, as I gave the proposal, and then I was like, all right, and then I reached out to all the artists, and I had a plan, and I'd done everything, and then, like, about a couple days before the show, my quote unquote mentor artist guy started freaking out, like, oh my God, well, did you do anything? You haven't done anything, blah, blah, blah. Which is really just like, he started noticing that, like, I actually did have my shit together, and it was going to be a phenomenal show, and he was going to look silly for all the shit he talked behind my back. Let me talk about what it was like when we started setting up the show. So I set up the show with an artist friend of mine named Sunshine, who is part of this STUK community too. She comes to our workshops, and yeah, love her. But I met her at the Drink and Draw event. So we just get along. She's a Capricorn, I'm a Gemini. We just flow, and she is very great at curation as well. So she helped me put together the show and hang it. And initially, the mentor artist guy was supposed to help me hang it and everything too. But when, first of all, I was like, so the day we were supposed to set up, I had to get the rest of my pieces from my studio. So I leave some of my things in the building, and I go to my studio to pick up the rest of the things. And he's like, okay, cool, yeah, I'll start setting up, and like, yeah, we can just be here, you know, as long as we need to be to set up. So I was like, okay, great. So I leave my bag, and I leave my like purse in my stuff. So when I come back with my paintings and go and grab my like my bag that has my purse in it, etc., I noticed that my purse was missing. Weird, right? It was just weird because it was like I obviously need my purse to be able to like successfully do the opening, to buy the wine I needed, etc. So like my ID was in it, and my passport was in it, etc. So like it was really weird. And then I was like, okay, whatever, let me go and like go in the space. And so I have all this stack of my paintings, you know, along with all of the work that the other artists have dropped off, and some of my art that was already there. And then I get there, and he's like hung the whole show already without me, which is like, I was just like, okay. And I had this stack, and I was like, well, I have all these pieces. What am I supposed to do? And he was like, oh, well, where have you been hiding these? You've been, like, he didn't think that I had been doing work or something. Like, he was very belittling. And so then I was like, well, I'm going to need to take some down so I can fit the rest of my pieces. And then he went into like this rage and just shut down completely. And so I just put on my headphones and started like, you know, hanging the other things that I needed to hang. And then he stormed out. And that was really the last time I ever spoke to him. And then, so my friend Sunshine was already supposed to come later, so I was like, whatever. So she came, and we had to rehang the whole show because, yeah, he was basically hating on me. So we did it. I was there till about 3 a.m. I also made an installation of this affirmation tree that I had in my head, like a concept for like you know, like a STUK show for a long time. And it was this like, in college, I took this sculpting class where we learned how to sculpt out of cardboard. So I sculpted this affirmation tree with Sunshine's help, and each like leaf people were to write their affirmations on and then like hang them to the tree. And yeah, that went really well, but there's another story about that in a bit, I'll tell. So we did that. He hated on the tree as well. And like as I was building it, and it was just really weird because you know how I had said that I felt like the energy of surveillance or stalking, like when I was in when I started working there. It just got more intensified during the setup of the show. And then with Sunshine there, like, yeah, we both confirmed we're definitely being watched. And I had already like left breadcrumbs, like to see if it was just cameras or it was like listening devices as well. And yeah, I just know that they were listening, they were watching, and they had been listening and watching me like constantly for a very long time. And which is like, it's one thing if you're just like watching and surveilling a building, but these people went far beyond that. And then they were trying to like monitor what I was doing outside of work, what I was doing. Like they were literally trying to monitor my every move 24/7. They would watch my every step. And this is, there's a reason for this. I'll tell at the end, like why they felt the need to do this. But truly, like, if you do that you still do it of your own volition, regardless of what you heard from anyone else. So, I was being heavily stalked, heavily watched, and it was giving me like headaches, and health problems because there is a long-term effect that comes with long-term surveillance. And it's not good for health. It's not a healthy thing to do. Especially if it's people who are preying on your downfall, especially if it's people who are throwing shade and hating behind your back type shit. So they were all like, watching like I was on the fucking Truman Show. And, and this wasn't like, there was one woman who was doing it, but this was like men. This was like old men who were in real life, real time, watching me on cameras and, just with their eyes. And then they extended that because then they jumped over to my social media. And then they started stalking my social media. I also believe they were listening to me when I was like in Twitter spaces talking. I know this for sure because later, like one of the old ass men like started dropping little things, like they started saying little things that I tweeted. And I was just like, ew, this is so fucking gross. Like, yuck. So I was basically being like sexually harassed. And that really came to fruition when we had the show opening, but then we had a lot of like events within the women's show that was hosted. And so or a few of the events, I invited a tarot reader to come. And she's a phenomenal reader. Her name is Dree. You should definitely follow her. Her handle is @BeNiceTarot. But yeah, I'd followed her for years on Twitter, but I knew she was from Oakland, so I invited her. And we hit it off. We're friends now. It was amazing. So anyway, she was giving me a reading before we really got into one of the first Friday events that we threw. So she was reading, and we're really focusing on this one card, right? Like this one card that was really like prominent and shit. So she pulls this card and is talking about basically like, like some wounded man who's like trying to make me care for him or, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, yeah, that seems like the scenario, because it seems like it's like this. It was basically like I had a mentor turned stalker situation. So then I go out to the opening, of like the door of the gallery space, after she gave a reading just to get some air. And I noticed there was like a folded up piece of paper in front of the door. So I unfold the piece of paper and it's literally a sketch of the card that me and Dree were talking about. Mind you, she didn't pick up this card. It was flat on the table. Like, and this was the first event that that man had not shown up. He showed up to every like other like event or just being in the space, like setting up, he would pop up somewhere. Like he was for real hardcore stalking me in real time, in real life. And so then I was like, what the fuck? This is a sketch of the tarot cards. And I showed it to her, and she was like, what the fuck? Showed everyone in the space. They were all like, what the fuck? And it was basically like, it was like a woman holding, like, this man was like his head wrapped and bleeding or whatever. And so we sketched that out, and it's like, we hosted the drink and draw together. Like, I know his sketching style. So it was like super fucking obvious. So anyway, that happened, and that confirmed that they were indeed surveilling me, and that they weren't letting up. So I was like, wow, that's so creepy, but I just wanted to really push the show forward because it was such a phenomenal show. Everyone who came into the space was like in awe, blown away, had like moments, would ask us about the pieces, like, and I really wanted to sell the pieces. Little did I know, like, it was just like, this was like a Truman Show game to them. They never intended to let me actually sell anything because I was like a joke or a game to them. So then, and as well, like, so they were basically treating 9 women artists as they were like a joke and a game. So there was extreme misogyny, extreme surveillance. It was sexual harassment. One of the days also, in my little like drawer that I had there, I got this little charm in there, this charm necklace that said brat on it, which is like so silly because I was like, yeah, and... Like, and that's supposed to like fucking offend me. They were just trying to like antagonize me. They were trying to mess up the flow of my work or success, and because they didn't want to see it. They didn't want to, you know, like admit how wrong they had been about me, about what I can build, what I have the ability to do, and just like what women have the ability to do together. So they were really like, you know, using the energy of the space and energy siphoning women in the space, energy siphoning the art of the space. And every week they would also, like, men would also go in there and play ping pong in the space. And I had asked when the show had started that not happen. I made several emails about that. And so, but they just ignored me, and they continued to play ping pong in a space where there was like a, you know, 100K painting in that space that had a contract on it for damage. So they were flying balls at paintings. They didn't give a fuck, and they were just trying to like antagonize me. And they would also put them playing ping pong in the space, like on stories, to antagonize me. And it was just so like petty and so like stupid. But I was just like, all right, well, I just feel like I owe it to these women to try to like be able to get their pieces to sell, because, you know, like I believe in each one of them, and as well as myself. And I know that this show could sell out if it actually had the ability to, but they blocked it at every turn. And it was like I was being abused every time that there was an event, every time I had to set something else up. And when they were playing ping pong in that space, because they were flying balls at things, they were also apparently like, you know, like the idea is that they were throwing ping pong balls at the affirmation tree I built, and that's how it got broken. But no, they were vandalizing the affirmation tree that I created. And because it was so hard to create and build, and me and Sunshine had to like put so many layers of like hot glue on it to like make it stay up and make it stand. And it's impossible for like a little ball to just, you know, break down that tree. Like, these are very aggressive men, and they were literally putting hands on that installation, on an affirmation tree where people wrote their hopes, their wishes, and their dreams, and they were destroying it to also antagonize me. And this happened about 5 times. The first time it was just like they started hiding things. Like they hid the pen to like write the affirmations. They hid like the wire to hook the leaves to the branches of the affirmation tree. And then because I didn't like flinch on that, like I just, I have an actual tattoo that's like non-reaction to like negativity. So I was like, whatever. And they just kept trying to like get a reaction out of me. And so they had to keep doing more. So I rebuilt that tree 3 times. Luckily, one drink and draw, my amazing friends helped me put it back together. Thank you guys. I love you. But it was a fucked up situation. So yeah, they were just abusing me, left and right, stalking me, watching my every move, creepy ass men. And then I was also, on top of that, so that was IRL, but then I also was dealing with these fucking online psycho hoe stalkers as well. There was one, and then, the artist friend of mine that I talked about before, he ended up having a baby with some other random girl that I didn't know even existed, and I ended up finding that out online. Like, he just posted it online, so I was like, oh, okay, great. So yeah, so then it was confirmed to me that was the second stalker that I'd felt the toxic energy of for years as well. So then once I saw and I knew that was her, like, it was so obvious because, like, she had mimicked my energy on her page. I looked, like, at the dates and the posts. Like, there's this Valentine's Day post where, like, I'm in a pink sweater and I'm smiling, like, behind foliage. She, like, mimicked that on the same day. And then, like, when she actually had the baby, she called it something like my page says "Welcome to the Garden." She called it like a fucking love garden, and tried to do like flowers and like that's my aesthetic, that's my brand. Like, she tried to mimic my brand.
So yeah, and then I found out that I was targeted by this girl, a year before I knew she existed, but she had eyes on me. So she was watching my moves, before I was aware. And she was energy siphoning me and mimicking me without my knowledge. It's interesting because she says she's into metaphysics, but I feel like that's her word for energy siphoning, because what she tries to do is like hop in other people's energy fields, and she tries to like cap people's energy off by like posting at the same time they're posting on my same like timestamps, and like squishing and crushing my energy, and so it's like she's an energetic bully in a sense, and I think that I don't know. I guess she thinks like that she's spiritual, but there's nothing spiritual about that. It's complete attack and it's complete bullying, and it was draining my energy until I started to figure out like what the fuck she was doing, what was happening, who she even was. And at one point, like, I went to a reader, and a reader told me, like, she doesn't even know why she's doing it. She doesn't even know why she's doing it. And like, I was like, well, I do. I know why, because she targeted me. She got into the private at the time, STUK podcast page. And I had this highlight section that had some manifestations in it that I totally forgot about. Like some manifestation images that weren't even accurate because they weren't up to date. But when I re-looked at it, it was everything that she was trying to quote unquote manifest, which is really just manipulation for her. But it was pictures of, like family pictures of a baby, pictures of, love and this and that. But it was just like too spot on to like what she quote unquote manifested, for her not to be in there. And then like, that's how I knew she was in that private account. And that's why I had to make that account non-private, because she got in, and she got into many like of my private accounts, and she would like, she calls herself a metaphysical manifester. No, you're a manipulator. here, and you're a stalker. And she got in, and she tried to basically like mimic my manifestations, essentially, a year before I knew she existed. And mind you, this was also before she was even pregnant at all. So she was planning and scheming on me and targeting me before I knew she existed. And I think the sickest thing is, it's like she acts like nothing is happening when she does this, so that I appear crazy and she appears quote unquote normal and sane. Which, I mean, like all of these things that have happened, it's all like a reflection of like how my own mother is. Like my mother pretends to be that way. So, like it wasn't a shock to me that somebody else could be this way, but I think it's a shock to other people that humans can be actually that fake and that fraudulent and can scam to that degree.
And then she started like lying on me, lying on my name, lying on my artistry. She started trying to like pit me and him against each other through art. She tried to make like, basically like him create art that would hurt me because he had in the past, made such a beautiful piece for me. So she tried to have him, like make illustrations after, made it like an illustration of me. She had to make an illustration of her, like to hurt me type shit. And it's just like so stupid. The whole thing was just fucking dumb. So anyway, like I'd spent so long like just not speaking out about it, but like their energy was so fucked up that the energy of those whole girl stalkers was starting to mess with the energy like of my friends and my groups, because they weren't just stalking me. They started because if they didn't get a reaction out of me, then they were starting to stalk my friends, because they were stalking like me and the movement I was having like with the art show. They're just like obsessively, insanely, sickeningly jealous. They don't know me. I'd never met them. I've never interacted with them. Nothing. But I can read energy, so like I know where they're coming from. And like I could tell that they both like girls. One more so likes men. One I think just is like, completely likes to date women, but she's like dating, with a man for money, type shit. And then, like just as like a disclaimer note, do I actually have a problem with hoes? No, I find like a hoe that says she's boldly a hoe, like very empowering. I find that like, yes, bitch, do you. Like, do these men how they do you type shit. But like, no, I have a problem with sneaking, little backstabbing, people working through other people to manipulate their energy against me type shit. Like, these women literally tried to like work through this man to sabotage me, my career, my art, his career, and his art. They also did like, they were working magic. I went to, a reader who told me that like one of them is doing went to the lady, because she doesn't really have her own magic, but like she went to the lady to understand how to do candle magic against me, to do love spells with him. Another one practices Santeria, so she's been doing very dark spells consistently against me anytime I post something that she doesn't like, because she's just a hater. And then they act like they're these like the God's gift to women, and that they're just like the most upright goody two shoes in the world, when they are flaming hoes. And also, I have no issue with women dating other women, although I date men. Like, I have no problem with that. Where I have a problem is when you try to play like weird lesbian games with me, through evil lesbian games with me through a man. And it's just like, bitch, what are you doing? What are we fucking even doing? Like, I'm not gonna play some weird, twisted, emotional game with you. I don't even know you. Like, and so that energy, like, of people trying to, like, work through others I'm actually in communication with to fuck with me is just, or people that I have connection with, whatever the case may be, it's just so silly. It's just, like, and I could feel, it's like their energy was on, like, every second, just checking myself, checking this, checking again. And I can feel it. And then, like, I was also being surveilled in real life, and it was just absolutely nuts. So I had to remain calm and remain grounded during that. Like, how could a crazy person remain calm during that? Mind you, I actually have in our career. Like, I have other commissions going. I have clients. And it's like they're just making me, like, trying to, like, trigger me, push my buttons, and make me, like, look crazy or stupid to the people I work with, my donors, like, so I was just like, this is so dumb. I really, at this point, I have no choice other than to speak out because no. And honestly, like, while it's like the artist guy friend, it's like his bad for not checking it from jump. It's like you can't ever really stop stalkers from stalking. Like, obviously they're listening to this. Hey, like, obviously they're never gonna stop stalking because it's mental illness. So yeah, I just had to call it out. And they're also like extreme narcissists, and the only thing narcissists really listen to is like public exposure.
So then back to like what I was dealing with at the gallery. Um, I I ended up addressing the CEO of the gallery, like about how I felt uncomfortable about all of the harassment that had happened, told him everything. He ended up gaslighting me, not listening to me, belittled me. And then I heard that my coach, so we all got coaches at this place, which was a great thing. But and they were all, like therapists, licensed, like like life coaches, career coaches. So she had really helped me a lot through it. But after the meeting that I had where I was gaslit, she was then told that I was insane. She was told that she needs to surveil me even further. So she was like, that's not in integrity, and she quit, which was like, oh my God, I'm so honored for that because no one has ever actually like stood up for me. Like I always have to stand up for myself like I'm doing right now. So I was truly honored by her taking a stand. And then I went and I celebrated my birthday, and I was away for a bit. And 2 days before my birthday, I get an email that's basically like alluding to me being fired at the space. So I ended up quitting before being fired. But then, like all the pieces start really aligning. And I find out that it was actually my mom who started, spreading these initial rumors to the founder of the space that I was insane. But like I said before, regardless of who said what, it's up to personal discernment. So, like everybody had a choice in this, which way to go. And most people chose, not a light path, and they chose to believe lies, and they chose to go a very strange path. So that was quite interesting.
So then after I moved out all of this stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I checked my email again. These people have still been emailing me, and they were like, they were basically saying, we're gonna kick you out, we're gonna take down all of the art, and we've changed the locks, and yeah. So basically, they kicked me out of the space that I had a residency at for 10 years, for no reason other than hate, misogyny, and what I also now have come to find is it's about like a new partnership that they had made that's against like me, that's against like the initiative that is STUK. And essentially what had happened is they made a partnership with Barclays, which has been under, activist human rights watch since around 2020. And I'm an activist, so I already know this company is shady and has done some. There's very much so Black rights issues. They're not for Black rights. They're not for Black people. And then also they give money to Israel to drop bombs on little Palestinian children. So to get money, this space made a partnership with Barclays, that company. And if you like look it up, this is like not a secret. Like it's everywhere that Barclays is under human rights watch, like, and has been. And so me saying this isn't some like thing. And it's crazy because they like, and after they kicked me out, they announced their partnership with Barclays. And it's against everything that I stand for. It's against women's rights, human rights, black people's rights, like Palestinian rights. So no, I just said no, I can't be a part of that. And it's interesting because, the gallery space was Black owned and promote that they're for community when they literally abused me for about a year and then kicked me out. So yeah, I was going through that all while having jealous energy from insane hoe-ass stalker women on me. So, that was continuing, and I was just like, no, like, this can't happen. So I ended up having to make a public stalker list, which was actually really hard for me to do because I'm not some petty, mean-ass person. I don't like having to do shit like that. But when situations aren't handled, when you are a man who has multiple hoes and does not keep them in check, or, doesn't know how to do that, like, it like forced my hand to have to do that because I'm not going to be like vampirically energy siphoned by hoes for the rest of my life. That I don't know, and that I have nothing to do with. So, I ended up having to make a public stalker list on Twitter, on Instagram, to just cut that energy because I am not a part of you stalkers' lives. Like, what they were doing, and what I figured out that they were doing is like they were literally like living their lives like for me, for my energy. Like they wouldn't move on social media or in their lives like without me doing something first, or without it being like an energy mimic of something that I was doing. Like the one girl that like started mimicking like the nature stuff of mine. Then she was like all at the parks and this and that now. And then it was just like such a blatant mimic. So, I just had to like speak out on that as well. And, it's interesting because I felt like for a while, like I was definitely, the muse of this artist friend, but it was like I was being disrespected as a muse. And there's this quote from, which is like one of my favorite shows now, and it has been for a while. It's called The Sandman on Netflix. It's like this super spiritual show about a lot of magic and all that. But it really talks about honoring muses. And there's this one quote that says, "An artist pays tribute to the muses. He offers vows of service and devotion to the goddesses in exchange for divine inspiration. An artist does not hold a muse against her will." And even though I wasn't really talking to, like, I was still being energy siphoned by like people in his life, by, it was just too much. It was too much was going on. And it was just like, there was no care or concern about like what else I was dealing with. And it was just like I had to put a hard stop and absolutely say no. And no is a full sentence, and we are all okay. And it is okay, and we are all allowed to say no. And I think that is also like a social fallacy that like this Zionist kind of fascist social setting is putting on people, that like we can't say no. Like we can't say no to surveillance. We can't say no to people who have overstepped their boundaries or have no boundaries. And like these women literally had zero boundaries. And I mean, I ultimately know where it comes from because like my mother doesn't have boundaries. She doesn't think that I deserve boundaries from her because, I don't know, she birthed me or something. I don't know. But, it stems ultimately from that. So I just had to cap it at that. I had to also stand up to my mother and be like, no more. And I've already cut her off before in life. And, it's really kind of sad because she kind of made it seem like we were good, and she played the role of us having a good healthy relationship. Meanwhile, she was stabbing me in the back and pocket watching me and watching my progress of my art just so, she wouldn't be outed for, once again, slandering my name, my career, my artistry. So, that's why other women think that, or attract other women, like codependent narcissists, who think that it's okay to have no boundaries with me, think it's okay to slander me, to talk about my artistry, to speak down on my name, and my like work of like over 26 years. And it's just, it was all just too much. And I had to like really, really put my foot down. And at the same time, I kind of like took a stand for myself and stood up for myself. Other opportunities came in, like when you say no and you take a stand to one opportunity, then doors can open for others. So I was then, right when, about like a week after I got, kicked out of one residency, I was offered another where I now teach my drawing classes, where I have STUK merch. And it's been a beautiful experience. I'm so, so thankful to, the owner, to this experience, to this space, to finally be in a space where women are respected. Something the owner said to me was like, take up space. Like, it's okay for me to take up space. And what they did at the previous gallery was crush me for taking up space, for wanting to take up space. So yeah, like I also did that, and then I had to like change my programming of Drink and Draw to offer it at various different locations. And my other gallery space, they didn't even like that. The day the morning I hosted the Drink and Draw at another location, I got a text from one of the guys that worked there, which was a picture of, because we hadn't moved out yet at that point, of the affirmation tree broken yet again for the last time. And that time I didn't care. I was like, I'm not rebuilding this again. I have enough content to post about it. Like, you guys are just trying to break down a Black woman. And, what's crazy is you would think that like that would be the end of it. But like, people, after I took a stand, it's like, I don't know, people, they wanted to like erase that which they had done. Like my dad's girlfriend tried to get involved to like, belittle me and this and that, my dad's white girlfriend, after I, as a Black woman, had literally just been through hell, just been through abuse, just been through like terror. And I guess they think that because I wasn't like breaking down crying about it each time, like it didn't affect me, like that doesn't affect me, like because I'm and that's where this whole like strong Black woman thing is such like fucked up bullshit, like it's so demeaning, because it's just like you people make us have to be this way, like, because say if I did break down and cry in that, where would I be now? I would just be like, I wouldn't be able to build anything else. I wouldn't be able to move forward. And it's just like, also with like social media image, these are people, the hoes, the creepy old men stalkers, the space, the institution. These people think Instagram is real. You think social media is real fucking life, and it's not. You don't understand the background story of what people are going through. And it's just like, that's really a shame. Because it's like, at this point though, it's like a conditioning in your brain that you're probably just going to keep going off of. So, it is what it is. But I just think it's really a shame that I had to axe an opportunity for 9 other powerful women artists, that I wasn't able to really sell any of their art, because every opportunity that I had was capped. I was abused. I was interfered with. Things were stolen from me. Things were moved around. I was talked about behind my back. I was on and on and on and on. Regardless, though, I'm so proud of myself that I was able to like overcome like the unsurmountable, because really what they wanted to do was crush me, crush my career, crush STUK, crush everything that I am. They wanted me to have nothing and to be nowhere. And that's not the case. So I really wanted to record this to just say that, like, yes, first of all, to just be clear about what is happening out here in these streets. And I guess, like, people have this notion because of social media that certain things that are going on in America aren't actually going on here. But they're literally living in a fascist Zionist country. And so fascist Zionist things are happening on the daily. And, I don't know why it's so hard for people to admit to that, to open their eyes to that, to see that. But because people just want to see what they want, what's easy to see. Social media is just easy to see. It's easy to be lazy and to, like, just scroll and to, like, suck up and lap up other people's energy versus, having the audacity and the courage and the bravery to stand up in your own life and lead. And I've always been a leader. I've always been meant to lead. But it's interesting because each tier I get to, people try to axe down my success. And I'm here to say that's no longer okay, and that's no longer possible. So stop fucking with me. Stop fucking with STUK Designs. Because through all the slander that people have spewed about, like, I'm no longer able to support my girls in Africa the way that I really want to support them. Like, and that didn't matter to any of these stalker people, including my own mother. So it's like a lot of people are under social fascist conditioning, and they're not understanding these ill, malicious, and deeply sick, mentally ill ways that they are moving. So I can only hope that, with me just shining a light, because I call myself Brett the Bright, like shining a light on all of this darkness that has been happening, that more positivity can, ultimately be let in. But all in all, I feel in a much better space. I feel so clear and calm. And so that's why I also taglined this episode, from cancellation to clarity, because I'm finally at a clearer space, and I just really thank God for that. All right, so let me just end with some affirmations for you beautiful people. All right, so you are a bright and shining light. You have the ability to do anything that you want with your life. You can walk away from situations that do not fit the flow of your bright, shining, blissful soul. You can say no when situations are not in accordance with the flow of your soul. You can say no to people who are not in accordance with the flow of your soul. You have the ability to ground. You are brave. You are courageous. You are smart. You are a genius. You have the ability to flow and go anywhere you want. You can travel to any destination. You can sit in stillness. You can share your truth. You can have peace and silence. You are a magnetic being of boundless energy, and fortune favors the brave, the courageous, and those who take leaps. So don't be afraid to take a leap. Step into the light that you are. I love you guys. Until next time, goodbye.
Hi everyone, hope you liked that episode. We are all about preaching self-love and empowering women and girls around the world. Support us in our journey as we provide art supplies and many more resources to girls in Ghana through our 2 programs, the Fly Girl Initiative and Little Heartists. We are also working on hosting more Color for a Cause events, as well as our No Filter school tours. Your help will enable this organization to work on bettering the lives of people around the world. For more information, visit our website www.stukdesigns.org.